How come the smaller countries of Scandinavia are able to implement socialism in such an effective way when the rest of the world can't do it, or even when they try, they fail miserably? In this video, I'll give you 3 reasons why it works in Scandinavia and it might not work anywhere else. First off, let's try to find out what a good definition of socialism is. It is often said that communism is the evil cousin of socialism, but there's a huge practical difference. So both communism and socialism arose after the exploitation of the working class during the Industrial Revolution. And what really sets apart socialism from communism is the way that wealth is owned and distributed. So communism has the state owning everything, wealth, properties, everything, and it delegates it as they see fit. Socialism, on the other hand, have the citizens technically owning everything, but they do put people in power, politicians and so on, to democratically elected to delegate these resources. So take Denmark as an example. We have something called representative democracy. So we don't vote for everything, but we vote people into positions of power, and ideally these people carry out the will of their constituency. So what sets countries in Scandinavia apart from countries like Venezuela, where socialism really derailed miserably? We'll get into that right away, but before we do, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my channel. If you like the content, I'm a new channel and it could really help me out with a subscribe. Thank you. So reason number 1 is trust. Contrary to communism, with socialism, the state doesn't own the properties and the wealth of the citizens. So in return, the citizens don't have as many reasons to fear that their government is corrupt and mistreating them. This might sound scary to you guys, but Denmark, Norway, and Sweden have very high trust levels to not only the government, but also the police. This doesn't mean we just trust politicians, but it does mean that no one single politician can do much damage to the system before they're kicked out by voters. And the reason that people in Scandinavia trust authorities is not that they're unintelligent, but they do it because through experience they've seen that they can. And this leads to number 2, taxes. People in Scandinavia pay a really high tax. It's one of the highest in the world. We pay an average of around 45%, with Norway having the lowest one and Denmark having the highest one. That means that Scandinavians are trusting their governments with almost half of all of the money that they make. This tax rate can go up to as high as 60% for companies and organizations. So obviously this would never go well for people under a communistic rule, as their leaders tend to fill up their own pockets and leaving the citizens out in the cold. But under socialism in Scandinavia, this results in everything from healthcare to the education system being completely free. Free as in paid for by the taxes, of course. Homelessness is almost non-existent, and if there are a few homeless people here and there, they can get immediate government benefits if they just seek it out. So of course, for all of this to work, everyone have to pitch in, and until now they've done so. The Scandinavian people have a strong love for their countries, a strong love for the fellow citizens, which results in a willingness to pay higher taxes. In other words, for something like this to work and keep working, it's important that people are willing to sacrifice selfish desires for the greater community, and at the same time have a very high level of trust to the government and the people they put in places of power. So this speaks to the final point, which is that this seems to work for mostly smaller countries. All of the Scandinavian countries are anywhere between 5 and 10 million people in population, so they're all very small countries. So what all of these countries have in common is that they share a great sense of nationality and community because there's such a long Scandinavian history that they all take part of. As we look all across the world, it looks like the more diverse people are in ideas, nationality, and community, the less people have in common. And the less people have in common, the less they'll be willing to give up and sacrifice for people they don't even know anyways. That's not the case in Scandinavia yet, and it does seem like a strong sense of unity is necessary to keep socialism from going really bad. Bernie Sanders came very close to getting the Democratic nomination in the US before he dropped out. I do think what he imagined for America was something like the Scandinavian model, so why didn't it work? He had huge support among young people, but the older generation kinda rejected him. Well, a reason could be that socialism just isn't a good fit for everyone. America has a strong, healthy sense of nationality, and capitalism is so ingrained in people's minds and the culture that I don't think that putting socialism on top of that foundation will work at all. It could crumble the whole system. I do agree with Bernie Sanders that picking a few ideas off of democratic socialism wouldn't have been all that bad for America. Polling data shows that there could be pretty broad support for something like a social healthcare system that's way better than the one that's in place right now, which is all too expensive for so many people. The problem with that is that it heavily relies on socialism being the platform on which you build. And since capitalism doesn't support someone paying 45% in taxes and companies paying 60% in taxes, it's really difficult to see America getting to a place where it has the same standard of healthcare for everyone without increasing taxes. In the end, I don't think it has to be either or, capitalism or socialism. They both have weaknesses, and I do think that some kind of merging between the two would be the best. So, what do you think? Is socialism just not a good fit for everyone? Or are there a few ideas that we should pick up on in different countries? Leave your comment in the comment section below and I'll make sure to reply to you. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.